Hi everybody, it's me. Good morning. Chat amongst yourselves for a minute while I go make sure that this is posted in the proper place and it's shared to my Creative Circle people. So that always takes me a minute, but good morning. There we are. All right, let's pin this and send it on to the Creative Circle. And there we go. Post that. And make sure it is pinned up at the top there too. So one more moment. Too bad there's not like an automatic button that just does all those things at once, huh? Okay, there we are. Pin. Great. Okay. Now, let's just open this and we should be good to go. There we go. Michelle is here saying, hey, hey, hey. And Takara is here. Christina is here. Star is here. Patricia is here. Carol is here. Patricia says, Ahoja. So does Carol. Good to see you guys. Good morning. Really good to have you all join us. As you know, for anybody that's watching this or you guys over in the circle, the first Sunday of a month, I typically will go on my public page. Normally, every one of the live chats is within the membership of the Creative Circle, which is one of the perks of joining. It's only, depending on what level you're at, $10 to $15 a month. And it gives you various creative content, new creative content every month, and then these live chats, and the back end, we're working on the archives so that past free demos that have been on the internet will be able to be easily clicked to from the archive. So we got lots of new fun things coming up. Hi Martha, hi Darlene, good to see both of you. Carol says, I just finished making my warrior. Oh good. Thank you for mentioning that, because we're going to be talking about that here in just a second. For those of you who don't know what that is, don't worry, it's happening. Janice says good morning. Darlene, hello all. Suzanne is Ahoja, everyone. Hello Suzanne. So we've got Suzanne and Christina, our friends from Europe, are with us, and I'm sure there'll be more popping in as well. There often are, which is fantastic. Danita over in Colorado says hi. Jean is here. Got all kinds of fun folks. Hi. It's going to be just me today. Ricky's got other things going on today. Sometimes my brother joins me. Not always, but sometimes he joins me, which is always lovely. I know you guys enjoy that. And last time we had fun, the Creative Circle members will remember that I like to share tropical fruits that I get, and I got an ice cream bean, which I've had before, but this particular one got me and my brother just in the giggles, because it was interesting and intriguing, but not necessarily the best fruit thing I've ever had, but it was still really fun. So we got ourselves into the giggles with that, which was neat. Hi Deborah, good to see you, my friend. Patricia says, I'm making my warrior as we speak. Patricia, you have been very, I was going to say productive, but more like you're in a creative flow with all the things you've been making. That is so cool. And just a big shout out. I've noticed a couple of you, Lynn and Suzanne, a couple of others of you whose names are eluding me now, Wiki, have put up some of your recent things that you've created, which is fantastic. So let me talk about the warrior. So I posted, and if you go up to the features and scroll around in the features, you'll see it. I posted a little story, or a link to the story, I forget which now, called The Small Goddess and the Flower Warriors. And it was based on some artifacts that I saw in a museum in Cyprus when I was there with Maria. Hi, Anne. Hello. Cheryl says, I can't believe I made it. Yeah, you did. Darlene says, I grew a chocolate sunflower, and it smelled a little like chocolate, but the squirrels took it before I even got the seeds out of it. Those squirrels, they're always doing stuff like that. But anyway, so I had seen all these artifacts in this wonderful little museum in Cyprus, and I guess it wasn't that little, but it had a whole room full of all these mostly goddess figures, and then there was god god figures as well. But there was the most amazing little goddess. I mean, she stuck with me all these years. It's been, 6 years since then, because she was like a centaur goddess, but she just had the most spicy little face, just wonderful, just so much life in this thing. And then I don't remember if it was right near her or just within the same case, but there was these flower warriors, and they tickled me because it was like warrior guys, and they had their hands up like they had at one time had a spear. Hi, Shauna. And all their shields had flowers on them, and I could just imagine these warriors like doing a synchronized dance or something, and they went together in my head. So I made up a little story, and it was one of those days when this has been happening to me a lot more lately, and I don't know if you guys have had a similar experience. I like to write. I haven't always written, but as you know, I've done books and things, and lately I've been getting back into writing some articles and different things like that. And when I sit down, I'll have this idea will just pop in my head, like when I saw I was going to post on the goddess and the little flower warriors, and I was trying to think, well, what should I say about them? I kind of feel like making a little story. And the story just went, and it just all came out in one go, which I love it when that happens. It really feels like you're tapping into the muses, and they're just, here's a story for you, and you just write it down as fast as you can. Anyway, so I made a story about this goddess and bringing these little flowers to life, and it's a whole thing. So you can go read it, go find it in the feature and read it. Hi, Linda. Anyway, I thought it was just really fun. So then I thought, well, why not in the Creative Circle, since we do, in addition to our once a month new creative projects or tips and techniques and such, we also do in our live chats ongoing demos like we'll be doing here. So this is what we got so far. Now, they haven't got this far at all, but this is where I'm going so far. So I've got this little guy who's supposed to look like an old terracotta, because these little figures were terracotta. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Linda. Hi, Sydney. Hi, Sydney. Cindy. Sorry, my brain. Cindy, hello. Anyway, so I tried to make this look like a little terracotta guy, and he's got his leaf spear, and then to finish his ensemble. So you guys in the circle, we've only got like the shape started. We haven't gotten all the way on this, but this is his flower shield. So he'll end up having this flower shield like this, and then he'll be a complete flower warrior, which you can read the story about and see what that's all about, right? But I thought, well, since we started him last time, and the Creative Circle people would be continuing, hi, Michaela, continuing to make that under normal circumstances, why don't we do the next part, which is that little flower shield for the Creative Circle members, but we'll flip it the other way around for you guys, and you'll have a little flower bowl. Okay, so that's what we're going to be working on today. I am going to be using this hemisphere cake form. Okay, so you can, wherever cake stuff, usually Michael's has a whole big cake section. I think they still do. I don't know. I haven't been to Michael's for a while. But you can get these online as well. And if you go to my Amazon influencer page, I have a link over to this particular product and these little hemisphere bowls. But if you don't, you could make a form out of foil covered with something non-stick, like a plastic wrap. Not a plastic wrap, because it has to go in the oven. Like a paper towel or something like that, and create your thing on top of that. That's no problem. So we'll talk about that a little bit. In fact, I'll get myself ready so that I can show you all of those features. All right, so we're going to be doing that today. Hi, Kelly. How are you? And I think I said hi, Vicky, but just in case that I didn't. Suzanne says the squirrels were going cacao. Yeah, they were, with your chocolate sunflower. So Vicky says, ahoja, Vicky, I hope you're healing well. Good to have you here this morning. Vicky, Kelly, great to see you. Irene, hi, babes. And then Danny gave the link there to the Amazon page. You may or may not do Amazon, but if you are searching through there, at least that will show you the one that I use, and you can go directly to their site. These are by Fat Daddy-O makes these a really great quality, because some of them are a little flimsy, but you can use pretty much any rounded shape that you can put the clay on, preferably something that will go in the oven, ceramic or metal or glass, because it's going to get baked on there, so the form doesn't slump if you're doing a bowl thing. Small dishes from, now she said snail dishes are great. I think, is that snail dishes or small dishes, Suzanne? Because I imagine that there are snail dishes, and I know that's more of a thing in some parts of the world than others, but I think you meant small dishes from the thrift shop, and I absolutely agree that that would be the best way, is getting some of these little dishes somewhere that you can repurpose them. Somebody asked me the size. This is a 3-inch diameter bowl, which is the one I use, but you know, you can use a smaller one, you can use a larger one, but it doesn't give you quite as much curvature. And we're actually gonna, if we're making the bowl for the circle people, if you want to make it as a shield, and we'll go over that a little bit next time, and it'll be part of when I save all of the how-tos, you know, it'll be, this will be in that how-to, but I'll remind you next week when we keep going on the little guy. But I'm gonna mention, of course, that the circle people might want to put it on the outside to make the shield. Everybody else will flip it and do it on the inside to make the bowl. So we'll be doing that shortly. So that'll be our project for the day. I like, and we have done these before, where I make just little bowls using a form. I like them. I think it's a lot of fun. It's nice to kind of have them around just as a decorative little element. You can put a little hook on the back and hang them up. Wouldn't that be cute if you made just a whole bunch of little bowls with, you know, adding a little hanging hook on the back? And if I forget to tell you during the project, remind me. But all I do is I bake the thing, right? Make sure it's all cured. And then I come back with a little bit of liquid clay and some fresh clay and a little ball that I flatten. And I just make a little hook out of 20 gauge wire, bend up the ends of the wire so that they will embed into the clay, put that little ball of clay around them, and then press it, smash it into that liquid clay that I put on the back of the little bowl, and it makes a wonderful hanger. You can rebake it in the oven. I usually hit it with a heat gun and just bake those little things. If they're nice and flat and really, you know, not too thick, they should heat gun great, but you can toss them all back in the oven, and I usually would bake them just on a little nest of toilet paper or something, just to hold their shape or keep them from, you know, having the decorative side if you choose to do this, because you could make these as little wall hangings too and just put that little hook back in here, and it would look cute whether they were button style or bowl style. But I mean, it's fun. Sometimes we don't think about the idea of putting like a little cluster of something. We think, oh, a wall thing has got to be big, right? Not necessarily. You can get a little shadow box and add a bunch of things to one and then have it on the wall, or you can just make a cluster of small little wall pieces. You guys know, especially you Diamond members know, that I'm constantly making these little small things and selling them as small wall pieces, but they do look great as clusters. I'm a fan of creative clusters, so that's just me. You can also get a nice display type box with all the little cubbies and shove a lot of the little things in cubbies. That's always nice. Hi, Colleen. Hi, Darlene. Let's see. Darlene says, make sure no writing on it or it might transfer and ruin the bowl. This one actually has a very lightly not embossed, but like an acid etched name. And I was wondering, because I did press it on top of that to see if it had transferred into this at all. But luckily I can't see it at all. So this one was so light that it did not transfer. But yeah, that is definitely a thing to pay attention to, because you don't want some weird words on the inside of your bowl without realizing it. Vicky says, hi all. Hi, Vicky. Good to see you, my friend. Here's the bowl site specifically, says Danny. Thank you, Danita. Appreciate you. Vicky says, I made a gazillion of the blue bowl of happiness tutorial. I love those little things. That one was really nice. So if you, Danny, I don't know if you feel like getting that link on my tutorial site, on my site on the tutorials, and just adding it here. That's a lot of searching, so don't feel like you have to. But that is a particularly nice project. So it's using a similar method to what we're doing here, but I'm kind of ruffling up the edges, and you end up with just this little blossom. So I'm glad you like that, Vicki. They were particularly nice. I came up with that on one of my trips to Japan as the project for them when I was there, and they really loved it as well. So yeah, so it's a nice one. But that's a great tutorial, and some of you have jumped on over, which I appreciated, to my, hi Karen, to my tutorial section, which is one of the few sections on my website right now where you can buy something. I'm in the midst of revamping, which I'm going to tell you about in just a second. And I mentioned it in the latest newsletter. If you did not get my newsletter yesterday or the day before, please check your spam folder, because about 6 or 8 months ago, a different like security protocol on many of the web email browser, not browser, but people who host emails is a word. It stopped a lot more mail, and a lot of things got shunted over into your spam folder. So if you are suddenly thinking, hey, I don't really think I've had a newsletter from Christy for a while, I send one out at least once a week, sometimes several a week, if I'm having something particular that I want to tell you about. Hi, Deborah. Hi, Connie. Hi, Jan. So if you are thinking, I have not gotten an email in the last few days, please go check, because I think I sent one out yesterday. So check your spam folder, mark it as not spam, okay? Or re-sign up if you just like don't want to go through that effort. Just go back to my website and subscribe again. All right, Danny just put up the little blue bowl of happiness tutorial, and I would suggest, if any of these tutorials amuse you while I'm chatting here, you can right-click them and have them just go up. You know, right-click as a new, and it's that little tutorial is $10, $9.95. But if you right-click on it, it'll open it up in the browser, and then you can, hi Lila, you can go check that out afterwards and see if it amuses you. But I feel like it is a nice little project. But the project that I mentioned in this last email, several of you went on over there. I have it on a flash sale, which is kind of fun, right? So anyhow, that is nice. I appreciate that you guys have gone over there. Hi, Rebecca. Good to see you. So I was going to tell you the other thing. So there's a couple of little news-worthy stuff, and then we'll get into some creativity. As I've mentioned, I am sort of changing things around. Karen says, hey, hon, I made some little bowls with those bath bomb molds that they have. Lots of uses, good things to have. Ooh, that is a great idea to use the bath bomb mold. Nice. I think you guys will all get creative. Just remember, anything that you use, if you decide to bake it on that thing in the oven, it needs to be able to handle, you know, the temperature, 275 or thereabouts Fahrenheit. I think it's 130 centigrade, yeah, Celsius? I never can remember if it's centigrade or Celsius. How sad is that? I got to figure that out, because I will be in Ireland soon. Well, September. That's not really soon, but as fast as life is going these days, it will be soon. And speaking of which, I'm going to be going over there as an artist in residence, which is a new thing for me, and I'm very excited about it. So that gives me a month there where my, you know, food and such is taken care of. I can interact with the creative people that are there. I think I mentioned to you that my friend Carol Douglas from the UK will be teaching during part of the time that I'm there, one of the weeks that I'm there. And you may want to check out her stuff and see if that interests you. But I'll be bopping all around. And part of the goal of the Artist in Residence program at this particular place, which I love, Essence of Mulroney in Western Ireland. I've been there before. She's just Celsius. Thank you, Christina. My brain just like, which one? They should not both start with the C. I have problems with things that start with the same letter being interchangeable. Ridiculous. Thank you, though, for that. I appreciate that. Yeah, Jan says, I can't remember what centigrade means. I know. Me neither. We learned it, but it's gone from my brain. Anyway, so the purpose or the goal of the Artist in Residence program that I'm going to be doing is to kind of set your intention while you're there for what you want to work on. You know, and there's a lot of different like guidelines or whatever, but I've chosen to make my focus on like mythology and folktales, partly because Ireland is just steeped in that, and that is fascinating. But also there are so many sort of archetypal or very common themes in myth and folklore. Hi, Denise. And it's, if I didn't say hi to you, Katie, hi, Katie. It's fascinating. It tells a lot about us as humans and some of the things that we are trying to understand with our human experience. But it's just fun. And plus it gives you lots of ways for the imagination to run free with all these different creatures and things like that. So I've got some ideas and I'm writing things down. So when I get over there, that's a lot of what I'm going to play with. But so I have on my mind a lot of this mythological thing. So I just created a little, I'm calling it Friends of the Muse art recipients or Friends of the Muse recipients. But essentially what it is, it's sort of like you're pre-buying, and as doing so, it's a support, my artwork that I'll be creating when I'm there, which is neat. Hi, Kat. Hi, Pam. Because I'm going to be creating artwork every day. I'm going to be exploring this theme. I'm already thinking about a book that I'm going to turn it into, and other things. So if that's something that interests you, you can jot on over to my website, which I don't know if the forwarding is set up yet. I didn't even check, but it's ChristyFriesen.com, but I'm also got the ChristyUniverse.com because I've been using that a lot because the universe is big and vast and silly. Come join me and let's explore it together, kind of a thing. Anyway, if you want to sign up, I have 3 different levels, and that will be the amount of art. And you'll also get some more behind the scenes sharing. I'll be sharing my adventure, of course, but I'll have some special shares for the people that are in that friends group. So anyway, that was kind of a long commercial. I didn't mean to, make anybody feel like they have to do that or whatever, but I don't want you to miss out because I will be making a limited amount. I'm not going to kill myself, but I'm going to be very productive. I already can feel that I've got all of these things that I want to make and I'm excited about it, and all different kinds of artwork, and being really inspired by being there in Ireland. So there'll be a lot of, I saw this and this is what it led to, or I picked up these little pebbles here and look at this, so we're going to have some fun together. So if that sounds interesting, that you want to be a part of that, get a little bit of inside scoop on things, a little special inside scoop, and then be a recipient of artwork that I make, sign up. I've made it a limited amount of spaces because I don't want to turn this into a whole big job. I want to know what I can produce comfortably while I'm there as part of this experience, and have the right amount of slots to divvy it up to. So if that interests you, jump on over there and check that out. And Danny put up a link to my YouTube, which is also called Christy Universe, which is great. Carla says it's that damned Kelvin scale that you have to watch out for, right? Centigrade, Celsius, Kelvin, there's too many of them. Tardigrade. I like tardigrade. They're very interesting little goobers. So, yeah. Pam says, oh, I thought it was paying for a spot in your suitcase. I think that would be really fun. Obviously, if I could take all of you over with me this time, I would. I have taught there before, and I really love teaching there. And I will do it again. I just have started wanting to go traveling again. I haven't wanted to for a while. So this is like the first time I felt like, yeah, I'm going to do that. And that's made me start thinking, okay, where else do I want to go? What else do I want to do? So stay tuned, because my guess is their particular place is packed. There is always all the spaces for retreats filled, but I will chat with her and I'll figure out. There's Ricky. He's
Aloha.
He's around, but not with us today, but he's here. That's nice. Hi, Shannon. Hi, Debbie. Anyway, so I'll probably be planning a retreat there again at some point. But it probably won't be enough for another year or two, but we'll see. I'll keep you posted on that. Anyway, Vicky says, will you be doing something like the Christy A Go-Go group like you had when you were traveling, or just the Maui portion of that trip? I was part of that, but I can't remember which was the paid portion. And that's where I first learned how to make a sea turtle. Oh, well, that is awesome. That was a really fun thing. And Vicky's referring to, hi, Debbie. Everybody says hi to Ricky. Everyone's saying hi, Rick. When I was on my I'm pretty sure that was the 2019 adventure where I was just everywhere. And I made a small buy-in for just getting a special little group where I kept you in on all of my adventures. So that is a really great question. Whoever said that? Vicky did it? Vicky? Vicky, I definitely want to think about that because that was nice. And I think my intent with this Friends of the Muse was that is sort of what it's going to be, that they'll get their own little group where they're keeping track of what I'm doing with more postings where I'll do the occasional one and my other social medias, and then they'll get more. And that's sort of what I was thinking on that, at least at that $50 buy-in, because then you'll also get some art from that. But having a little different tier where you can just sign up for the interaction part. Interesting question. Would you remind me? I'm going to put that chore on Vicky if you can do it, but anybody else who might want to remind me of that just by messaging me on Facebook Messenger or email, and just remind me to consider how I want to set that up. So so you can do that. And I still haven't decided if I'm going to go other places while I'm there in Europe. It seems like I should because I'm there. I haven't been back to Paris for a while, which would be fun. And of course, I just saw my friend Lila pop up, and I've spent lots of lovely time in Ireland with her. And then my friend Carol from the UK is going to be there, and she already wants me to come off and go do some other stuff. So it may end up being quite a larger adventure, of which I will keep you posted on. So more interesting stuff to come. My suggestion would be that if you're interested in getting any of my Ireland art, go ahead and sign up. There's a $50 level and a $100 and a $200, and that's the different amounts of art you would get, or the type of art, flat work versus sculptural work or whatever. So I haven't figured it all out yet. I just know it'll be awesome and you'll be happy with it. But anyway, yeah, go check that out. And one of you guys remind me, and I will answer the go-go question. Absolutely. Yeah, because that was fun, and it was really nice to see, check in with you guys almost daily, I think, and just kind of give you the update of the day. And it is nice for me. It gives me a good kind of habit to get into on that particular thing. So that's cool. All right, so that's some information for you. One last thing, and then we're going to zip right on over to creating, because we're about at the halfway mark, which is usually what I do. Ramble on and on for half an hour, and then we create. Is I will just mention to you, and I think I started talking about this and got distracted, is that I do have my website in flux. Big shout out to Lena, who is my web guru, and I've contracted with her to help me over these last multiple years now of working on my site. And she's amazing. If you want to hire somebody who is great at what they do with websites and other internet-based things, her business is stellar, and she is fabulous. You can get to her on my website. Down at the bottom, there's a link straight over to her business. But she is working on some new innovations. But one of the things that I decided to do, for long reasons that we don't need to talk about at the moment because we'll get into that, is turn off my store, where every day you can just bop in and grab whatever you want if you wanted to, because processing orders and stuff like that is something that I struggle with getting to in a timely way, and it takes up time. So I thought, you know what I'm going to do instead, because we are bombarded with things to buy all the time, and it's exhausting. So I thought, I'm going to switch it over to a once a month pop-up shop. So it's going to be, I've already got the dates. You can go on over to my website and click on the link and get the schedule. It's the first full weekend of a month. So if a month has, like, Friday is the 31st, and then, like, I think, this would have been this is the first weekend of the month, but it's not the first full weekend where all the numbers are in the month. Anyway, so you'll see the schedule there in case that's confusing. But so next weekend will be the first pop-up shop. And my intent is that I will always have the tutorials and things available, although I'm going to be bundling them. So if there's any individual ones you want, now's a good time to get them, because soon they'll be more in grouping, so there'll be less of them to have to wade through. But then I'll turn back on favorites like epoxy sculpt and tools, but I will be bringing in new stuff each time. New, interesting things, new combinations of embellishments or whatever. So there'll be less to choose from less often, but what there is will be unique and fun. We'll see how that works. I may hate it and change it to something else, but I feel like I'm going to like it. So we'll see. Okay. Vicky says, I'll remind you later today or tomorrow. I've made a note. Thank you, darling. And then Lena, Danny's got Lena's thing there for us. Wonderful. That is awesome. Awesome. So, and I feel like that. I was going to tell you one last thing. This isn't a commercial, really. It's an interesting creative share. So today, being the first of the month, by the end of the day, the new creative project in the circle will go up. Now, this month it's really special. So if you were thinking about maybe joining the circle, this would be a great month to join, because you'll get last month's project is always still available on the website or on the Facebook member group. And then this one, I can't even show it to you because you know why? It is an interactive thing. So I've made this little creature sitting on this little cushion, and it presides over a special sharing area. So we make the creature, we make these little signs. One says sharing area, the other one says take a magic, leave a magic. So I've set it up already across the street in this little hollow of a tree in the public park over there. So he's this little guy sitting in the hollow of the tree. It's like a cave, and very accessible if you notice it. And in front of him, there's a little bowl, a little dish that I got, hi Rosanna, from the thrift store. And it's filled with little treasures, little magical treasures. And then there's the 2 stones that I've covered and put sharing area and take a magic, leave a magic. And then that means that anybody who happens to notice it and comes over will realize that they could take something out of that bowl. And then if they had something they wanted to leave behind for someone else to find, then that would be great. So I've filled it up with crystals and interesting beads and little carved rocks and just all these little fun magical things. And it is intended to be a thing where I've created it, I've set it out in the world, and let's just see what happens. And anything could happen. Somebody could destroy it all or steal it all. That's outside of my control at this point. I put it out there, and we'll see what happens. But my intent was, since this is a park and it's near a little bench and a lot of people walk by, that some people out of the corner of their eye, especially children level people, will like notice it and go check it out, and that will make them smile and be amused, and they'll have fun, and they might feel inclined to come back and put in a few little nifty things themselves, which is fun. So the neat thing is, I got it all done. I'm finishing up the video today, and I went with my brother in the end of the afternoon yesterday to go set it up, and I asked him if he wouldn't mind doing the video of that part so I can do the setup. And my intent was I'd set it all up, and then we'd kind of go a little distance away and see if anybody noticed it. Well, the fun thing was there was a couple of families there with, they must have had like a kid field trip or something, because there was over a dozen kids in that magical age, you know, like from 6 or 7 on up to 10. What? So I went over there, and after I got it set up, I'm like, Denise is like a bird feeder, only for people. Yes, I was. So I kind of went over there and I talked to the mom, told them what I'm doing, and I said to the kids, if you want to go pick a magic, and they're all like, I don't know what, a human, a stranger. But anyway, they scampered on over. And the mom, you know, one of the moms came over just to make sure everything was good. You know, I showed her what we're doing, and I made sure we took some video, but it was just little hands reaching in, no faces, no anybody, you know, so it was perfect. Ricky got the perfect shots, and it was just so much fun for me, because I wasn't expecting to be able to watch anybody interact. That was just a little bonus, and it was really neat, because the kids did exactly what I hoped, is they all kind of got down and looked at everything, and they kind of, you know, because it's set back a little, so you can't like take it all, and like you have to kind of feel and look at something, and then so it's kind of neat. Anyway, so it was really fun. I have to go back there after we're done talking and see if there's anything left, because there was a lot of kids, so we'll see. But my purpose in doing this is, if that's not your comfort zone, then you can make this and keep it in your world, or use it to interact with your own kids or grandkids, or in some other place that amuses you. You might have a friend who owns a little, you know, shop that that would be appropriate for people coming in, whatever. You'll think of whatever works for you, but I loved the idea that so many of us have little bunches of little beads that we've made, or tiny little figures or whatever, and we've got too many and we don't know what to do with them. We've given them away to everybody, or we don't sell them, or whatever it may be. Like, what a fun way to create a little giveaway zone that is a bit magical. So Cheryl says that's so cute. I love it. I think it's going to be fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys will do with that. So for those of you in the Circle membership, that is coming up later in the day today. I'm still putting the finishing touches on the video, so it'll be in a few hours. Everybody else might be a good reason to come join us. The Circle is fun, and I think that is where you get the most amount of Christy these days. I'm trying to bring all my content, instead of just flinging it all out everywhere, and the craziness that is become social media, is keep it, you know, in my website and groups there, you know, where you know what you're getting, that it's just me, it's not pretend me or fake me or me in places you can't find. So I'm working on trying to bring everything to the website. So if you want to know where I am, you just go to my site, and then there's the Christy button. So we'll see how that works. Okay, so now I've talked a half an hour. That was very, very easy to do for some mysterious reason, as it always is. We're going to flip around and we're going to make a thing. So as I do these little chats, anytime if you guys have any ideas or questions or something like that, feel free, of course. I think a lot of you just watch and listen, and then you go back, or you come back in if you weren't able to catch it live, and you read and kind of play with it, you know, the next time. But always it's about a half an hour of yammering, and then a half an hour of making. So now we're going to do the making. And what I usually do is I have to flip this thing around. So I'm going to do the beginning of the flip here and get this set up, and then scooch myself over and fine tune the flip, and then we'll make. See how this works. Always takes me a couple of goes, because I've got to move a few things. All right. I think we're a little off here. Let's see if that can go this way. There we go. How does that look? A little bit more centered. I think we've got that. So this is, like I was showing you, this is the little flower warrior, and you can read their story. So hopefully you'll go find that in the featured section. And I think I still need to move this a bit, get that a bit more centered. It takes a few goes to get that proper, but I think we've got it a little closer now. So I'm going to put him laying down a bit so you can see him a bit more. Those of you that are in the Circle will be, actually I think he might want to live over here, we'll be playing with him a little bit more in coming weeks, and that should be enough there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make his shield, because that shield is going to be right there. And I'm using, as I mentioned before, the hemisphere bowl. I think I've got a little bit of crookedness too. I know it drives your eyeballs crazy if there's crookedness. I get that. So some of you more than others, sorry. Oh dear. I have to look upside down at this to get it straight, and that's why it takes me a couple of goes to get it straight, because I'm actually looking up and underneath. I will figure that out one of these days. Sorry that it's a continuous weirdness. All right, so I'm using this hemisphere bowl. We already talked about that. We're actually going to make the bowl this way today, but anybody who's doing it for their shield, it will go on the outside. And these are the colors that I've chosen, and the rest is going to be done with powders. And that is, we've got just some ivoryish white. And, boy, I don't know why I can't seem to get this thing straight. So sorry about that. Anyway. Sheesh. Some ivory white and some green. The little bowl of the body of the bowl itself is green. Okay. And then these are the little petals, which we're going to get to in just a minute. So first thing I want to do is get my green clay nice and warm. And it can be any color green that you like. Let's move that out of the way for now. I just mixed up some, and it's got some different colors running through there, which is totally great. I'm gonna put that, prop that up there. And I'm going to just flatten this out now by hand. And I like to create a ball and turn it into a circle and flatten it by hand. And I do it a little at a time. This warms up the clay. That helps it stretch. That will be very helpful when we go to put it on our form. And I'm pinching the edges a little bit. Not a ton, but just a little bit so that they're not as thick as the rest. But you can kind of see that's as thick as like a quarter or a euro coin. And then the edges are pinched just a bit more. And it's pretty easy to keep that shape fairly circular, as you can tell. Pretty easy to do. And this can be as big or as little as you want, but this is a good size for our dude as a shield. So be aware that that's why I've chosen that side. And let's see, how many times through the pasta machine do you condition your clay? Darlene, hi Barb, good to see you. It depends on the clay. Most of the clays that I have are very soft and very fresh, so they don't take a lot to get them into condition. So I put it in the machine until it bends nicely and doesn't crack when I bend it. So if I take the sheet and I fold it in half and it just cracks along that fold, it needs a few more times around to get it nice and soft. And I think Jan has got a little bit more information there. I'll let you guys read that, just about conditioning. And different things take more. Like Jan, I know, does a lot of canes and such. And the conditioning is much more important there because you're wanting all your clays to stretch uniformly. I usually don't need that so much. So I don't condition my clay as much as some people do. So that just depends. But basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to get it soft and flexible and ready to work with. And that's the main point of conditioning it. Just warms that clay up and makes it super lovely. All right, so let's see. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of these little balls. So I made myself sort of an ivory-ish color here, which you can see. And I am making little flower petal balls out of this. And some of you have other techniques for making balls more the same size all at once, which is groovy. However you get there is terrific. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're almost there. And then we're going to turn each of these into a teardrop, as you might have guessed. And when you make the little balls, too, what that does is it helps warm up the clay as well, which is really nice. What is the approximate size of the shield in relation to the figure? Okay, so this is the guy, and I've made his flower stalk that you can take it and leave it so that it's easier to ship there. But you can see, like, the shield ratio. So I guess I could measure that and see how wide it is. I'm going to guess around 2 inches, but let's take a look. Just under 2 inches, which is the same as about 5 centimeters. So that's about the size that I chose to go with my flower dude. And I feel like that's a really good, and it could be bigger, but I like that. It's not so much that it covers him up, and then we'll, in the circle, we'll have a little trick for putting that on him. But that's kind of cool, right? So there's his flower, and he's got his spear too, which I'll put in his hand later. All right, so now we have 8 balls. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm trying to make them all about the same size because that's important. All right, and from each one of these, we're gonna do a little teardrop, and I want my teardrop to be kind of fat, not too long, because then I just kind of lose it over the edge, and we'll see. And I want to flatten it first to make sure that it is not gonna get too disproportionate once I put it onto the shield. And I start off sort of making like a opposites, and making the X sort of in the middle first. So I'm just gonna do like this, and I'm trying to get the petals to be towards the outer edge of the shield or bowl, with some space in the middle. And you can play with that on making your little flower petals longer or whatever amuses you. Let's see. And one thing I have learned is that if you can pre-flatten as much as possible first, and that way you have a chance to flatten it in the way that you prefer. Otherwise, it's just going to flatten the way it wants, and sometimes that's not the way you want. So just keep that in mind. Now it's going to get a little bit full, and some of these flowers may flatten into each other. That's okay. I'm also trying, in fact, I think I didn't do that, but I would recommend that you just sort of lay them in place first before you flatten them down, which is what I should have done, so that I can move them around if I need to. I've already committed to flattening them down, so I can't do that anymore. But that is something you could do in case your spacing was a little more off than you thought. You have the opportunity to pick them up and reposition them, which is a nice option. So do that if you haven't already mushed it down like I did. All right, so let's get this last one down. Now I am not going to flatten this. Sometimes we make a veneer, and I bring in my roller and I flatten everything on there, but I kind of wanted on this one for those petals to stand up. I thought that was kind of cool, and that's sort of what I'm doing here, is letting those petals be fuller, which is more better, I think. And I'm going to take just a little bit more clay for the center, but I don't want it to be too big because it's going to flatten out too. So there's just a little ball in there. All right, so this is our main thing, right? And now I'm going to come back with some powders. And I tend to do sort of a combination of powder and then take it off with the tape. Okay, let's see. There's the one I want. I have this nice deep, I just acquired this. And this is the Phthalo Green Extra Dark. I have the lighter phthalo as well, which I love. But this one I really love. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of going and putting a little powder in between each petal, and I'm not trying to get it all over the front of each petal. It will naturally happen. Part of that is to give some color in between those petals, so if they mush together, there's a little bit of line there, so I can kind of see that it's more than one, which is nice. And I think Jan had some more information that he was doing, which is nice. I know Jan does teaching, so I think you're used to people asking questions about the technical aspects. So I appreciate all of you that have are able to respond when I'm busy doing something and answer some of those questions about technique and supplies and stuff. I think that's awesome. All right, so I've got tape now, and many of you know this trick where I am just using this sticky tape over the surface to get rid of any of that powder that is going in places that I don't want. As you can see. All right, almost done. And this flattens those petals down a little bit as well. Now you can see that the color inside everything is nice and dark. And you can use a smaller brush now to add just a little bit more of that, or lighter powders. Let's see, where did I put my powder? Oh, over here. I knew it was somewhere. And see how it kind of like I got rid of a lot of that with my tape. So if you want to go back out and extend a little bit of that and make it more fun by just brushing it a little bit, go for it. And if you get any where it doesn't belong, you know the trick. All right, so now, put that one away. I'm going to take my tool and I'm just going to add some little lines like flowers have. I think I'm going to make these a little bit broader lines. So, and this will just give a little bit more definition to the petals. You can do this if it amuses you. You do not have to. How many lines should you put? However many you want. Flowers are pretty flexible like that. So that's fun. You can't really see them too much yet, but once we get a little powder in there, you'll be able to. Okay, so now I'm going to put just a little wee touch of yellow in the center. And on this one, you notice that I did a lot of yellow. I'm not going to do the same on this one. Why do the same thing twice? I'm going to put a little bit of yellow there. And then I think I'm going to go to a blue because I can. So I've got some blue here, and I'm going to bring blue on this one. And all I'm doing is just kind of stroking up that color, starting in the center and then fading it out so it's not covering the whole flower, because I like the tone. And then I think what else I added was just a little bit of a darker smudge of the next deeper tone of the same color. In that case it was sort of an orangey yellow, but in this case it'll be a little bit deeper blue. And then I'll do the last little bit of blending and make sure everything looks smooth. And you can go back if you want and pick off some of that with your tape if you want to expose more lines and less color. I kind of like how the color works there, so I think I'm going to leave it as you see it with just the color. So now what I want to do is I want to be very careful in lifting it up and then putting it in its bowl form. So let's see here. I'm going to take my blade and I want to push it down against the tile, all right? And then kind of give it a little bit of a, I won't want to say exactly a sawing motion, but when I start feeling it coming up, then I'm going to help it along so that I'm not cutting into the clay. And then in order for this to lay on or in the bowl well, what I usually like to do is I like to just hold it in my hands like this for a minute. Because when you first do this, you're going to feel that it's probably cool, if your room is cool or the tile that it's on is cool. And after a while, it'll warm up to the temperature of your hands, which will make it very flexible. That will make it much easier to layer over a bowl shape, which is what we're going to do next, and without cracking or whatever, buckling or doing whatever crazy things it would do if it was cold. And if you just put your hand on there without moving it around a lot, you're not going to move that powder. In fact, if you're using pan pastel, you won't move that powder at all because it is very grabby onto the clay. So if you're making a shield, you're going to lay it right on here, right? If you're not, then you're going to put it inside the bowl and just press it down in. That's all I do. And then you bake it directly in that bowl, and then when it comes out, you'll have just the most adorable little bowl. If you don't have a baking form, let me see if I can get this out easily. Oh, I have to peel it out. Gently, gently. If you don't have a baking form like this, then what you can do, and I do this sometimes, is I just take a little piece of, usually tissue paper, but you could do paper towel as well, and I kind of like make a little ring out of it, like this, because then this can form down in there and I can push it down into that hole and play with it a bit, and it will make a very reasonable holder to keep that bowl form in the oven. And paper, toilet paper and stuff can go in the oven. It's not going to get hot enough to do anything bad with that. So let me hold this up a little bit more so you can kind of see how that finished up. Let's see if I can, there we go. Get the light up a little higher. All right. So it's very simple, a super simple form, depending on whether you're shielding it or bowling it, and whether you want to make it as a wall piece and whether you want it to be concave or convex, right? And then you bake at your normal temperature in preheated oven. If you are not sure on that, most of you are pretty familiar And I see a whole bunch of other people that have popped on that I haven't said hello to. Hi to all you guys that are just popping in. If you're having any questions about baking, I do have in my YouTube channel, which is Christy Universe. So I've got a baking video there. So if you need a little bit of help on baking or a refresher, then you can find that information there. No problemo. And then I'll show you up here and see kind of how that turned out. Ooh, that's a little close. Very simple. You could get so much more complex, and this is the yellow version. It does not have to be super simple. You could use, if you're a caner, you could use cane slices. If you're going to be making along our little guy, then this is the shield that our flower warrior holds. So those of you in the circle, we've got all that fun stuff to come. I did bake harden the shield before I added it, or will add it. So just be ready for that, because we'll be doing that next time. Cheryl says it could still be cold in my hands. Yeah, if you've got cold hands, you could put it on your leg, or use a little heating pad on your hands first to warm them up. It helps. It's not like you have to have that thing warm, but I have found that if the clay is too cold, it resists just bending into shape, and it will have little micro cracks that you have to deal with, which is so annoying. And the trick is just to warm them up. Light bulb. Oh yes, I forgot about that. You can put this form over a light bulb. That would be a great thing. And there's a number of different shapes of light bulbs, and some have more of that pyramidal thing, but that's a shallower bowl, and an incandescent or that style has a deeper bowl. But yeah, get creative on that. That's fantastic. I like that. Good suggestion, Suzanne. Clear glass Christmas balls, said Jan. That's absolutely true. Those are fantastic forms. A smart way with the toilet paper, yeah, if you don't have that at hand, like you're making it now, and it's like, well, all those are great ideas, but I don't have any of that right now, then the toilet paper will do in a pinch. Danny has our link there to the baking video, should you wish. Thank you. And I would have thought that the toilet paper would burn. Always learning new things, says Debbie. Yeah, if you'll remember from your Fahrenheit 450 book, paper has to get up into the mid 400s to burn. The only exception of that is if it's in the oven and it touches one of the elements. Then you might get a little bit of a fire, because those elements are actually hotter, and that is a direct heat connection. But otherwise, I put paper in my ovens for so many years as props, and I'm constantly propping everything up with paper towels and toilet paper. I even have had, when I haven't had foil, I've used paper inside polymer clay as a form. So I get creative on stuff like that. Same with duct tape and masking tape. They can go in and out of the oven, no worries. So yeah, it won't burn, as Danny says. It's just low enough. Unless you bump it and it careens up to broil or something crazy. So just keep an eye on your stuff. As we have brain farts in our lives, we can sometimes do weird things. So check your dials. All right, so we are having a fun little bowl and or shield that we made today, or a part of a larger wall piece. You may come up with more things that you want to do with it. You could create a little, take a bowl, and have fun. I don't think there'd be a leavable option of that, but talking back about what we were talking about earlier with the creative circle thing. Hey, little teeny bowls are fun. I don't know why. I like a lot of ridiculous things that aren't really doing anything other than amusing me. And I'm totally great with that. Okay, guys. Oh, hi, Anita. Didn't see you there. And did I say hi to Jacqueline and Cindy and Stacy and Angie and Debbie and Rosanna and Colleen and Katie? And did I miss anybody? I feel like I missed somebody in there. Pam. I don't even know. Now my thing is all crazy. Who else did I miss? Well, hello to you if I missed you. I don't want to have left anybody unhelloed. Okay, guys, so Anita says if somebody has cold hands, try cupping the piece in your hand and slowly place the metal form down to start the curving process. The combination of somewhat warm hands and pressure from the form works well. That's a great idea. So basically you're putting that clay in your hand and then putting the form, if you're doing it, on the outside of the bowl. And you could flip it around, and like you could have put it this way on the outside of the bowl and make the bowl that way too. I don't like that as much because it makes shininess on the surface design, and it's not consistent shine, because sometimes the shine is here or there. But if you're somebody who then will use sandpaper to kind of fix it at the end, that works fantastic. But I like that thing that Anita is saying, is just being able to kind of cup it and press at the same time. That's a great little suggestion. Appreciate that. Bye, says Carla. Bye, honey. Cheryl says, I sold a bowl that a guy was planning to hang up. Not my original purpose, but you do with what you want to, dude. Yeah, a lot of people put bowls and plates on the wall, and that is always great. All right, people, we have talked for an hour, shy of just a minute or two, which is lovely. I really was happy to spend my time with you here today. Please, as a reminder, zip on over to the website, kind of make sure you get the dates for the pop-up stores, and remind yourself that next Friday, Saturday, Sunday is our pop-up store here on the website. And you can check out the Friends of the Muse or whatever else you want to do. And I just really appreciate you guys hanging out with me and sharing some creativity time. It's always fun. I always love that. All right, guys, go have a wonderful Sunday and a beautiful week. And summer is coming, so I hope all of your exciting plans for this warm weather will be fabulous. And I'm glad you guys could make it today. Hello, Labradorite, says Vicky. She loves that little piece of Labradorite that's hiding over there. There it is. Hi. All right, guys, I love you. Mwah. Happy creating. Bye.